Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proof.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hi, this is Rob Paulson, and you genius people are watching the Break It Down show.
Welcome back, man. Welcome back.
Thank you. As I said off screen, I so appreciate the fact that your standards are notoriously low for people like me. So I'm grateful that you had me back so quickly. Thank you.
Well, if I quit finding gold in the trash, I'd quit looking there, you know, so.
Beautiful. Listen, I'm going to steal that one. My friend Pete said, yeah, Rob, if I stop looking for gold in the trash, great. To the extent that I'm a nugget, I'll take it.
I love it. Yeah, you were on about a month ago, and I thought, well, let's just first off, this is National Cancer Day. We had Jason Mendelson on the show a couple weeks back, and he's a survivor of HPV, and for him it was throat cancer. And God, it sounded horrible to have to go through the treatment. And you were also, and as a voice actor, a survivor of throat cancer. So let's talk a little bit about your cause and the awareness that we're trying to create today.
Thank you. It just is a happy accident that today is National Cancer Day. Sadly, for millions, we all know somebody who's been touched or whom we've lost to some form of cancer. It is certainly the most ubiquitous human ailment, it seems, that and heart disease. But so to the extent that people deal with it on a regular basis, I suppose every day is National Cancer Day. But today is the day in which the world draws attention to it. In my case, a few years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 metastatic squamous cell carcinoma in my throat, the base of my tongue, also HPV related, which now has accounted for enough cases to be the 6th most prevalent cancer in the world.
Wow.
Which, when you're talking about cancer, is not a small number. I believe that approximately 600,000 people will be diagnosed worldwide with the particular ailment that I and Jay dealt with. And the sort of thing that sadly we lost Eddie Van Halen to. It's a double-edged sword, as often is the case. When I was diagnosed, I was told from the get-go, here's the deal. We're virtually sure we can cure you, but before we do, we almost have to kill you. And I think what Jay referred to is pretty much my story. The treatment is brutal. It doesn't do anybody any good for me to sugarcoat it, because if it's caught early, like mine was, even though it was stage 3 in this particular instance means that it had migrated or metastasized from the base of my tongue, which was the primary tumor, to a lymph node in my neck. And that's how I discovered it. So there was probably a small walnut-sized lump, and didn't bother me. I was still doing my gig. I can still do Yakko all day long, and it wasn't bothering me. But it was diagnosed as that. And it is very treatable, but the treatment can be pretty tough. In my case, no surgery. 10 years ago, they may have done a neck resection and gotten that lump out. But because your immune system takes a bit of a hit with the radiation involved, if they don't have to cut on you, they prefer not to. In my case, they didn't. They said, we're going to handle everything with chemo and radiation. I had 7 weeks of daily radiation and then concurrent chemotherapy. It took me probably a year and a half to get back to what is now Rob 2.0, my new normal. But I'm fine. I just had my 6-month checkup last week. I am cancer-free. I have no reason to believe it'll come back. But for more information on this particular type of cancer, folks can visit Head and Neck, all lowercase, headandneck.org. I am now in my 2nd year of the spokes tune for the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance. And there's a lot of really good information. Dental checkups, going to visit an ENT, a general checkup with your internist for your yearly physical, a simple cursory visual and, palpitating examination can really make all the difference. So get it looked at. And if you are able to get it a little sooner than mine, you may not have to go through quite so much. But the really, 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 really important good news, on National Cancer Day is that it's not, I'm not talking about remission. I'm talking about cure. And that's what they told me. They used the cure word. So that's what I focused on. And when it got really brutal, and it did, I said, look, dude, you're getting cured. This isn't like you're going to have to worry about this 2 months from now. Do what they tell you. And I'll be damned. Here I am.
Here you are, and still able to act, and your job is with your voice. And so what a blessing.
Oh, God. Well, yeah. And I have to be honest as well. When I specifically asked my team for the straight dope, I said, look, man, I'm not a 30-year-old young father with 2 kids who's worried about being able to see his kids grow up. Even if, honestly, Pete, even if the doctors had said, look, man, we're going to keep you comfortable. I'm really sorry, but just go home and get your stuff in order. I had nothing, Pete, about which to be that sad. It was more about my wife, my son, my friends. People would say, oh, Rob's gone. I wonder who gets his stuff, that kind of thing. But they didn't say that. And I was not a young man. I was 59 when I was diagnosed. My concern, because I had just been literally the week I started radiation and chemo, that week I had literally been told that Steven Spielberg wanted to do Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain again. And was I interested? Are you kidding me? Steven Spielberg, hey, Rob, are you kidding me? Steven, if you want me to detail your cars, I'm interested. So that's what really got my attention, was the fact that, oh, are you kidding me? Talk about that axiom, we make plans and God laughs. So all I could do was laugh and say, okay, well, this is going to be really interesting, hotshot.
Yeah.
If you can get through this and you're still able to do your job at the same level and Mr. Spielberg is willing to pay you all that money, nerve, then you got a real story, because this is how you've made your living for 40 years, singing, acting, and, becoming a semi-regular on Pete's show as a result of your work. Hey, Doc, will I be able to do this? And they said, we're not sure. We know we can save your life. Whether or not you'll have the same vocal dexterity, we don't know. And that kind of got my attention because on a personal level, like you, I am totally enervated by my gig. I love my job. I love what happens when I start doing this and your face does that. It just starts to smile. Everybody does that, including me. So that's what really got my attention. But the fact that you're able to, that you're kind enough to have me on your show and talk about it, and that I'm a voice guy and my voice is fine after really tough treatment, and I'm fine and I'll die someday, but not from this. That's the story, because we don't know who's going to listen or watch your show down the road and say, man, I just saw Pete's show and he had this guy on, Ron Pullman, I don't know, guy does funny voices for a living. Hey, Dad, you got to see, or hey, Mom, check this out. This guy does this for a living and you don't even have to worry about that. He's fine. So we got this. We can do this. And that's why my story is important. And I really appreciate you letting me share it.
I'm doing too many things at once. I'm trying to produce a show here while I'm trying to host it.
I hear you.
I wanted to pull up Jason's story and put it here in the links because...
Oh, good. Yeah, we'll do that later. That'd be great.
Because he talks about this and getting this shot to get in front of HPV. For us adults, we're sort of already exposed, but your young kids too.
Yes.
I literally had no idea about this.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. A lot of your viewers may know that for, 15 years now, Gardasil has been prescribed for young girls to prevent them from getting HPV-related cervical cancer down the road. Now, the FDA has approved Gardasil for boys as well. I think it's up to 18, 21. I don't know, but that information is available at headandneck.org or American Cancer Society or Gardasil.com. But specifically for the same thing, it is the sort of thing that virtually everybody will be exposed to. and a lot of people's immune systems handle it. The fact is, I could have contracted this particular virus decades ago and beat it more than once with my own immune system. But Gardasil for men, young boys and young girls has proven effective in preventing the HPV virus for doing what it did to me and Jay. It is obviously deadly, but the treatment ain't a walk in the park either. So if you can prevent your beautiful children from having to go down this road, it is absolutely worth something for parents to look at.
Yeah.
I completely understand the zeitgeist. I understand that people are always concerned, confused vis-a-vis vaccinations. But I'm here to tell you, Raphael, Donatello, Pinky, Yakko, Carl Wieser, all of us are here to ask you parents, please at least have a look at it and talk to your pediatrician, because it'll be a really wonderful gift you can give to your children. You don't want them to go through this if they don't have to.
Yeah, and I love that we covered the cancer thing up front because, we're not just going to talk about this stuff, but it is important. And literally, I knew that there was a kind of cancer that girls had to watch out for that was preventable, and that was really where my knowledge stopped. And
right.
Yeah, we had Jay on. It was fascinating to hear him talk about this, something that's completely preventable, and yet it's so pervasive in people that you'd want to do this for your kids. You'd want to. You need to.
You would, and like I said, I totally get it. People are going, people. The problem, in my view, without getting too far off the mark, is especially now we're dealing with COVID, and all these vaccinations are coming out, and as we've seen, and sadly we view it every single day in the news, there's so much false information out there about pretty much everything. So in this case, it's not about politics. It's not about anything that is whatever. It's not a small thing. There is really, really, really excellent real-time information out there about vaccinating your children against HPV-related cancers. So please do your due diligence as you normally would, being a good parent, and make a decision with your spouse or with your pediatrician, and really have a look at it, because whatever side effects there are definitely worth asking about. But I'm telling you what, after I've seen the side effects compared to what I went through, I said, I'll risk it.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you very much for letting me speak my piece.
So last time we talked about my idea about cartoon characters that sing songs and do covers, like Kermit the Frog singing Hurt and that kind of thing. And it's a hilarious concept to think about what those things might do, just Droopy Dog singing Killing in the Name of, or whatever, right?
Killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life. I don't even do Droopy Dog, but I can.
Right. Yeah. That's about as bad as my Droopy Dog is.
Good, man, that's okay. Unfortunately, nobody gives a damn about me doing it. All you got to do is have your little, when you say B's and D's, it's droopy in the back of your throat. And hey, I should do this for a living.
And then I thought about the idea of aging these characters that never age. What does Carl Wieser become, at 42?
Great question. Yeah, well, that'd be interesting because he already sounds a little weird.
I suppose if he got a little old, maybe he would sound a little like a cartoon Katharine Hepburn. And then, you get over here now, Jimmy. I'm going to beat you like a rented mule. I can't feel my leg.
That's a great question. In fact, I used to kid around with my original Ninja Turtle buddies when the show really exploded in the 90s. And I said, man, this thing really seems to be taking on a life of its own. Little did I know. But I have this recurring nightmare in which I'm at a mall opening and they say, hey, the original Raphael, voice of Raphael, Ron Paulson, that may get my name wrong,
right?
Because I'm at a mall in Brea, California, wherever, and I'm in a broom closet or a custodial closet, and somebody says, okay, Mr. Raphael, they're ready for you, and I go out there, maybe smoking a cigarette with my green tights and a run in them with my big turtle shell. Hey, cowabunga kids, wow. Oh, you must be Timmy's mommy. Well, turtle power, baby. You know, all that really obnoxious stuff, thinking, what do you do when you get to be an old Ninja Turtle? The cool thing about my gig is nobody cares what I look like.
Right.
And I had the great good fortune of working with Mel Blanc. I think I may have mentioned this to you before. And, you know, he was almost 80 and looked like it. Mel Blanc, if you look at him, you know, looked a little older than he was anyway. He had a charactery kind of rubbery face. But I'm telling you what, Pete, when he said, "Yeah, what's up, Doc?" he was ageless.
Yeah.
And I was the one who, boom, went right back to being a 10-year-old. I mean, it was, to this day, when I explain it, I get a little bit of, I can't believe I got to do that. And it was a remarkable experience. So that's the glory of cartoon characters. And you can do whatever you want with them. I love the idea of Carl Wheezer. I got a prostate like an Idaho potato, and I'm sick of talking about it.
Right. And then, like, if you go to someone else's event, you know, like we're middle-aged dudes and they're like, hey, come to our, you know, our HPV cancer event. And you go, you sit down and David Foster and the band are playing the hits up there. But you have, you know, Pinky, Roger Rabbit, you know, all these characters that can't sit still for 2 seconds and they're at the event.
Great idea. In fact, and people get their money's worth when they have me at their event because I show up with half a dozen characters that everybody in the room knows, at least one of them.
Right.
Remember a while ago, somebody sent me a question on my, I was doing my podcast years ago, and somebody said, I'd really love to hear your characters sing because I love to sing. I've been a singer longer than anything, and Animaniacs in particular had a ton of music, and I've done a lot of work for Disney and Universal and singing. So I had Pinky. I'm a big rock and roll fan. Huge rock and roll fan. So I had Pinky singing the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. And I went, because, you know, it starts out with Robert Plant saying, which was easy to do. So I, down to the land of the ice and snow with the midnight sun and the hot springs glow, North. And people love that. I thought, I could have Yakko singing an Elton John song. It's getting late. Have you seen my mates? Tell me when the boys get here. It's 7 o'clock and I want to rock. Want to get a belly full of beer. I just would love doing that. So there is, in fact, with Valentine's Day coming up, maybe I'll have Carl Wheezer sing Funny Valentine or Love Potion number 9. There are only 8 notes. I don't know how Carl can screw them up, but he manages to.
Yeah, he can never get back to the, to the key. He can never be on key. He always finishes somewhere.
The key is knocking a door. It's not music, right? I get it.
Yeah, but these ideas of taking these characters and playing with them and put them in different scenarios, you know, like it's just it's fantastic. Like, you know, a middle-aged, rundown, whoever, even Jimmy Neutron, who goes to college, you know, falls in love with a girl, ends up running a Foot Locker, you know, and doesn't end up doing incredible things because that's what happens.
I thought that I was going to develop a black hole in a can for people that I could experience it. And I love tennis shoes, but I'm working at a Foot Locker. I mean, come on, you guys, I had my own product, I had my own channel, my own TV show. What happened?
Right. Yeah. I had a friend who was in Special Forces, and he's an older guy, and his kids would bug him, you know, like, you got to quit smoking and drinking so much, a doctor said. And he's like, something has to kill me, please.
Listen, with all due respect, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir because you're, I think I froze. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see. He'll hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's froze on my side. No problem.
Okay.
But yeah, look, I know I'm talking to the real deal. When people use the phrase hero, they're talking about you and people who do what you do. As they say, I've played my share of heroes on television. You guys and our brothers and sisters in uniform are the real freaking deal.
Yeah.
So once you've been through what you folks have been through, you must think, look, if you're going to give me a hard time about having a couple extra beers, or if you're going to give me a problem with people shooting at me,
right,
a lot,
yeah,
I might I might even have taken a couple. I might even have pieces of enemy shrapnel in my body. Trust me, I'm going to enjoy my freaking cigarette. I understand the kids. I understand the kids' concern because they love their mom and dad. But as a person who's, the age of many people who, I'm just a little too young for Vietnam. But you see my point. You were in the military. Having done a lot of stuff with the USO, do whatever you need to enjoy your life, my friend. You have earned it. So I totally get that.
Yeah, and it's just funny when you take that attitude, though, and you apply it to a cartoon character, years and years down the line.
Oh, I love that idea. And trust me, one of these days, when all this COVID stuff is over, I would love to have you come to a recording session someday, because that really is the show, Pete.
Yeah.
You and I have talked off screen about our mutual admiration for our friend John DiMaggio. Whom you guys would know as Bender on Futurama. But when you're in a room with John DiMaggio, Billy West,
oh my God,
Phil Lamar, Tress MacNeille, Lorraine Newman, my friend, the only thing you're going to have to concern yourself with is not being able to get your breath from laughing. And it is ever thus. There's no time when it's, well, that was a boring ass session. Never.
Yeah.
Never. Because you have grown people who are encouraged to behave the way you and I are behaving right now. And then they pay you a nice chunk of dough.
Right.
So when you have grown people who are predisposed to behaving that way anyway, and then they're encouraged and say, hey, if you do it really well, we'll give you more money. Oh my God.
Right.
The rails are completely off. And this excitement that you hear me on this side of the equation is utterly authentic. You try to stop John DiMaggio from being his badass, funny self. And it is a weekly miracle to be involved with. So yeah, it's a great, your ideas about old cartoon, we do that stuff all the time. And maybe we should do it for real, because we just do it just to take the piss out of each other. It's fantastic.
Well, like my friends we're all in our 50s, and so different stuff hurts for no reason. And it's like you are a cartoon character at some point. You're like, I hurt my foot walking. All I was doing was walking.
Does it hurt you when you swallow too? I just had some marshmallow fluff, and I swear to Christ, I think I'm going to explode from the pain. And I go, oh my God. And how many times, well, I'm older than you.
Yeah.
But the number of times I stop myself when I'm fixing to say something that reminds me so much of my father.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it, but I'm now understanding that depending upon how you embrace it, age really does bestow a certain amount of wisdom. And I can see my 35-year-old son heading not down a dangerous road, but down a road that I know, because I've been down that road for whatever, to say, God, at what point do I say, you didn't ask me for this, but I'm going to tell you anyway, or say, no, he's got to learn on his own. And I really now see what my old man was talking about in certain instances. And if you're around, I'd say, Dad, I'm sorry I was a pain in the ass. You were right. I should have kept my head up. And he'd laugh and he said, well, you took a punch. You got a couple of dings and you learned. And look, man, you're talking to a guy like your buddy Jay, who, if somebody told me 10 years ago, here's the deal, Rob, you coming up to a 10-year chunk of your career and your life where you're going to start a podcast. It's going to be really successful. You're going to start doing personal appearances. You're going to get another shot at Ninja Turtles. It's going to be as big as the first shot. Then Animaniacs is coming back again with Steven Spielberg, with all your friends. The audience is going to lose their mind. Oh, wait. But in the middle, you're going to get throat cancer. So off you go. I would have said, wait a minute. Back up. What, throat cancer? So no one gets out of here without a couple of dings, and I find myself trying to warn my kid, and I sound like my old man.
Yeah. It's you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna kick you out and see if we can get you unlocked. So come right back, and I'll cover for you in the meantime.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to just close my thing?
I'm gonna kick you out and then just come right back in. You'll see.
Right, I'll stay right here.
Okay. All right. So while we work on getting Rob back in, so we can see and move around and everything, just everybody know we appreciate you here at the Break It Down Show. Rob should be back in a moment. 5 live episodes a week at least. Usually I say yes to 2 or 3 extras, and so that always happens. And so just bear with me while we get Rob back in. That stuff about Jason Mendelson, you see that streaming across the scrolling across the screen. God, a lot of S's. You can always check that episode out on YouTube. Just type in Jason Mendelson, Superman HPV, and then Break It Down Show, and you should have him come right up. That then you can learn about HPV. Again, you guys probably all know about it, but I had no idea. When you've been gone a lot during your adult life, I haven't done dishes as much as you. I haven't done laundry as much, and so I also didn't know about HPV. A lot of you probably know, but just in case, definitely work on that, and then definitely go to Rob's. He's the spokes character at headandneck.org, and that's where you can look at head and neck cancer. And since today is Cancer Day, we'll raise some awareness for that particular kind of cancer. Another thing I can tell you about is just today, a little earlier today, we posted officially the 900th episode of the podcast. That was with Jason Piccolo. And so that's another fun milestone. We've actually recorded about 50 extra episodes on top of that. So we're somewhere north of 950 on our way to 1,000. But that's just an update. Hey, Rob, welcome back.
Hi, I'm back. Yeah. Okay. I'm a little bit older now, and everything hurts again. So we're back where we started.
Yes. And then going on this concept of putting characters in different different time frames, that it's fun to cross universes and then put them again. Like, hey, let's all go to Palm Springs for the weekend, and what that seems like, with like all. Well,
and that's the thing about when we talk about guys like John DiMaggio, Tress MacNeille, Lorraine Newman, Nancy Cartwright, Bart Simpson, Harry Shearer. They're all really solid improvisers. Billy West, my buddy Maurice LaMarche, who's the brain, Muffin the brain, really solid improvisers. So, I mean, we take any scenario and just start to run with it. Johnny DiMaggio and I, in fact, we did a really fun thing years ago, and I used to do my podcast live at the John Lovitz Comedy Club at Universal City Walk. And Johnny was my guest one night. And this was when Anthony Weiner, what a perfect name, Anthony Weiner was, misbehaving again after he got popped the first time.
Right.
Okay. And so on the way into the show, I love to write parody songs.
Yeah.
For instance, Christmas, I've become an honorary Jew because everyone with whom I work and all my friends are all Jewish in Hollywood. So I'm changing my name to Baruch Paulstein.
I like it.
And so during Hanukkah, I sing down the road lives Mrs. Nagel. She says, hey, you want a bagel with cream cheese and lox? I bought some new socks for walking in the kosher wonderland. Okay, so I love doing stuff like that. So on the way to this gig with Johnny, because Tony Weiner was everywhere, there was a great song by the Shy-Lights, a huge hit in the 70s called Have You Seen Her? Have you seen her?
Yeah.
So I came up with,
oh my God.
Well, I tried, let's see. Well, I had to give up my congressional seat because I got caught texting pictures of my natural meat. I'm a wiener.
Yeah.
Call me Tony Weiner. And so Johnny, being the fabulous guy he is, stood behind me while I sang that, and he was my background vocalist.
Of course.
So I'm going, it's my wiener, my creepy tiny wiener. Oh. And Johnny's in the back with this big man. Oh my God, it was so great. It's on YouTube. So just YouTube, Rob Paulson, Tony Weiner, whatever. But you can see what Johnny does. And we do stuff not planned. It's what they live for.
Yeah.
And so all of your ideas, I say, one of these days, man, we got to get you in a camera and a microphone, and we'll all just improvise.
Oh my God.
All of us going to hang out in Palm Springs like an old Rat Pack. Right.
And like the Tasmanian devil going, let's go to Rosarito, you know?
Oh my God. Well, see, now you're doing it to me because I know all these people. Jim Cummings is the voice of the Tasmanian devil,
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh, and Tip and Darkwing Duck. So you've got the same character and says, oh, bother. And it just makes women, I love Pooh. And most people, but I've seen Jimmy say, oh, you're a very lovely little girl. And they just go, oh my God, it's Winnie the Pooh. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But he's also the Tasmanian devil. That just shows the breadth of this guy's talent.
Yeah.
We did a show together years ago in the early 90s called Tasmania for Warner Brothers. And Jimmy was a Tasmanian devil. Maurice LaMarche played Taz's father as Bob Hope.
Wow.
And so he would say, hey, hi, Taz, I'm going to take you out there and work on my pudding stroke. Oh. And it was fabulous. Dan Castellaneta, whom you guys know as Homer Simpson, was on the show. And man, once Jimmy would start riffing as Taz, sometimes it got a little blue, but oh my God, was it funny. Yeah. Fabulous. Crazy fun.
I know you guys are all pros, but how do you hold it together? Like, how do you, like, when your improvisational mind is always going like that, how do you even stay on script and on schedule? It seems like, I mean, again, you're pros, but, you know.
Well, it's a fair question. And trust me, there are more than 100 times in my career probably that the director or producer on the other side of the screen or the glass has said, hey, excuse me, we got to rope it in, guys. We got another session coming in. Or you just told me, Rob, that you got a hard out at 4.
Right.
We haven't started recording. It's 3 o'clock because you guys are making each other crack up. The trick is, and wonderful directors like Andrea Romano and Gordon Hunt and Ginny McSwain and Chris Zimmerman, all these people who direct us, do a really good job of keeping us in line, but understanding that creative energy that might result in stuff that is not usable because it's a little bit blue is utterly part of the equation in terms of the energy that is brought to the project. And under most circumstances, we all work together and we much prefer it. We don't have to, which is one of the great things about the gig. If you're ill or if you're not available, you still can get picked up on your own and get paid. It's great. But I have had more than my share of hit shows. And every single time without fail, Pete, it's about everyone working together. Simply because that energy that I described earlier really ends up on the screen. Because a high tide raises all boats. I'm way better surrounded by those actors because they say stuff that I don't think of, but it inspires me to come up with something to respond to it. And so it is definitely a concern. Some with more actors than other. The people, the usual suspects I'm mentioning. John is one of the worst offenders, as am I. And we sort of can't help it. But just as when I was a kid and I got to work with Jonathan Winters, I don't know, 7 or 8 times, unbelievable privilege, first of all, because he was and still is one of my heroes. But I learned early that they built extra time into the recording sessions because they knew John was going to be John. And who the hell wants to tell Jonathan Winters to shut up? Nobody. Because A, he's Jonathan Winters, but B, it's a free show. People pay a lot of money.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Winters. And here we've got him in the studio with other wonderful actors, but when they say, okay, Jonathan, action. And Jonathan all of a sudden starts to riff and he's invading Omaha Beach on D-Day. And he just goes off for 10 minutes, improvising with everybody else in the studio. But the cool thing, he sets it up for us. Or he used to just, like he would say something that you could respond to authentically in the context of the improv, but not know what Jonathan was talking about. I mean, it was so remarkable that you could play with Jonathan and not even know where he was going. It was crazy to watch, but it might have taken 20 minutes. And then he would get back on script and we would go. So that's part of the trick is knowing when you hire certain actors that you're going to get really great stuff. Really great stuff. It's going to end up being an embarrassment of riches. You just have to know when to tell them to shut up, and and we all are used to it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I am reminded every single day. That's why I wear long sleeves all the time. I pinch myself because I truly, honestly, Pete, I cannot tell you the level of gratitude, certainly for surviving my cancer experience, but to be able to do this as long as I want to do it. And then I get to talk with my new friends, Pete, about it. Oh my God. I'm a blue collar worker in the dream factory, man, but I have won the lottery and I know it. It's the coolest way to move through life. I'm so lucky.
Yeah. Like you can see a lot of other cool things, like when I was in the Army, I was a spy. And so I'd look like, I could go become a Green Beret, or maybe I'll become a SEAL or fly helicopters. But I already had such a great gig. It was like, there was no better gig. You're at the travel writer. Okay, great. But I'd rather do this,
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the same with me. And well, it probably is the same thing in any endeavor that is worthwhile. Certainly yours endeavor, might have saved my life. So I appreciate what you and your compatriots do. You're the best of us. But I live that axiom in Hollywood that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So when I left Michigan in 1978 to move out here full time, I had done as much as I could do back in the Midwest, touring with live acts, doing stage, itinerant theater, traveling around the country. And so it was time to come play in the big boys pool, big kids pool. But by doing so, I put myself in a position to get lucky. I had no idea that my career would take the path that it has, because I came out here ostensibly to do live action music like pretty much everybody else. But because I was here and because I followed my gut and was able, at 22, fear is with a small f. I mean, what if I do if I don't have money? I get a job. I'll figure it out. I can't not do this. So 10 years after getting here, I'm get asked to do animation. And of course I said, yeah, I just want to work. And everybody likes cartoons. Are you kidding me? Great. So after about 10 or 12 sessions, I told my agent, hey man, don't keep me from the on-camera stuff, but I'll take this every goddamn day if I can get it.
Yeah.
I am so glad. So little did I know that the opportunity presented itself. I was prepared, and boom, I got lucky. And I never would have gotten lucky had I not moved to LA 10 years earlier for a different reason. That's why finding your passion early, if you can, and I realize that there are a lot of people watching who are lovely, gifted, talented people who for some reason haven't yet found it. And that's okay. Yeah. Sometimes it takes people longer. I just knew early that I was bit by the performance bug. The only thing I wanted to be more than an actor was a hockey player for the Red Wings. And I had neither the talent, temperament, nor dental insurance to make a dime as a hockey player. I was pretty good until I got to college, then boom, and that was done.
Yeah.
But I knew that I had this other thing that just literally made my soul happy every day. And so that's how luck often happens. It's really more about now that I'm really fortunate. I didn't get lucky over and over again. I'm good at my job. You're good at your job. I should be good at this. But I got lucky that I was in the right place when I was prepared. And it never would have happened had I not driven, 2,000 miles out here in my little Honda at 22 years old. And that's how that happens.
I love it. You actually did something for me, and just about every guest that I have on, does the same. And I just get to absorb all of these lessons from life and nuggets and everything. And I used it. It was your grandpa's thing, you said. And he said, go ahead and go out west and let, this big old ocean called the Pacific, and let it pacify you. And I have said that probably 10 times since you said that to me. So your grandpa is still alive, and you've contributed something to my world. You must have a similar thing with all of the interaction, all the brilliant writers. And I want to add this in too, so weave this in when you get a chance. How hard is it to write for you all? Like, do you have to you know, because the audience is an improvisational audience, right? So you've got to get the story to move along, but you don't want to overwrite because you all can do it, you know, like, so give me a theme, a setting, everything. So what do you collect personally from all of these incredible people that you work with? I mean, if Steven Spielberg is talking, I'm going to shut up and listen to what he has to say. I met Sly Stone a couple of times, and that guy, in between like the moments where you're like, what the hell's going on? Were these pearls. And like he at one time said, if my music isn't good enough, I don't deserve to eat. And I thought, God damn, that's what I'm competing against, you know?
Yes.
You've got to be prepared. You think all in is the stuff on the table? No, it's everything, you know? And so talk about that, and then also the writing thing if you get to it.
Man, you have really, you did this last time too. You're so good at pushing a button that really works with me. I have had so many opportunities to work with the best of the best, and people who have all the money they'll ever need, all the money their children and grandchildren will ever need, all the celebrity you could possibly wish for, legacy, credibility, everything, who could behave any way they choose. And they choose to be kind, empathic, thoughtful, complimentary, and it is a recurring theme. And I can give you a couple of examples. I mentioned my desperate love of hockey. My hero, my idol as a kid growing up in Detroit was a guy named Gordie Howe, who is Wayne Gretzky's idol and the hockey player's hockey player. Number 9. So as a kid, and I still have the first autograph I got from Gordie at age 13 on the back of a father-son banquet at the hockey rink in Flint, Michigan, where I grew up. And Gordie came to be the speaker, and he's Gordie freaking Howe, right?
Yeah.
So cut to years later, after I'd moved out here, I'm a hockey player. So I got involved with a group of actors out here, actors and writers who grew up, and we were able to get together and go play the old timers of National Hockey League teams to raise money for charities, virtually always geared around children. And of course, because I was a hockey player and I could skate backwards, at the time it was Ninja Turtles, and I could be very helpful. So we played a lot of different games. The first time I got to play with the Detroit Red Wing old timers at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, and I'm standing on center ice with Gordie Howe. Gordie says to me, "Hey, fella, you're the one who's the Ninja Turtle, right?" I said, "I sure am, sir." He said, "My grandkids are Ninja Turtle fanatics." So we just hit it off. I was a left wing forward, and Gordie was a right wing. So I was playing opposite Gordie. So I'm on a line with Alan Thicke, God rest his soul. And I think it was Danny Gare, who used to play for the Red Wings and the Buffalo Sabres. Great old hockey player, but I'm on a line with Danny Gare and Alan Thicke. And I'm playing left wing opposite Gordie Howe. So the puck is dropped. Gordie, or Alex Del Vecchio, another one of my heroes, another Hall of Famer, used to play for the Red Wings, is playing. This is the line I'm opposite. Gordie Howe, Ted Lindsay, and Alex Del Vecchio. Number 7, number 10, and number 9, respectively, all of whom are in the Hall of Fame. And Alex is still alive. Gordie and Ted have gone to that big rink in the sky. But anyway, my parents are there. I'm on the Red Wing, the logo, at Joe Louis. Puck is dropped. Alex wins the faceoff, shoots it into our zone. We go back to set up to take it out. Gordie Howe trips me, then sits on me and puts a stick across my chest and says to me, and I've got a photo of it, that you see me smiling with Gordie sitting on top of me, and he says to me, "You effing turtles aren't so tough." I did what you're doing. I thought, God, just if you could cut me just 4 or 5 stitches, I could say, "Gordie did," right? Okay. So it was, I'm in the club, Mr. Hockey, my idol, is making an effort to befriend me. Okay, so we became very fast friends, and Mrs. Howe as well. Cut to about 3 years later. It was Gordie Howe's 65th birthday tour celebration. And so Mr. and Mrs. Howe invited me. I promise the story is worth it. Invited me up to play in a softball game in the summer to raise money for a children's hospital and sign Ninja Turtle stuff. Please bring your stuff. By this time, I'm doing Animaniacs, so I had more to offer. And Gordie said, hey, Robbie, we're going to sign autographs. So he always made sure I sat next to him. I mean, it almost makes me tear up. The way Gordie treated me and treated my parents, and I'm sure did this to many others, it's that what I'm talking about, how the best of the best behave, regardless of how they could. He had me sit next to him, and this is where Gordie Howe went from being my idol to my hero. And there is a difference. I had been signing autographs for probably an hour and a half, and all stuff of my characters, and Gordie was signing everything that wasn't nailed down. And a young man walked up after an hour in line, and Gordie signed a puck for him. It was very pleasant. And the young man, was about my age, looked at him and said, oh my God, thank you so much, Mr. Howe. This was so worth it. I'll bet your hand is getting tired. And here's what Gordie Howe said after probably, literally, Pete, his millionth autograph in his lifetime. The guy played professional hockey till he was 52. Gordie looked at this young man, and this is where I learned how to behave if you ever achieve anything resembling celebrity. He put down his Sharpie and he said, not at all, son. I've worked way too hard for this privilege. Now, that's really a big deal. Gordie Howe never lost sight of the fact that when all is said and done, he was a farm boy from Floral, Saskatchewan, who somehow lived his dream of playing in the National Hockey League. And now he is the idol of every player who is in the NHL after him, has grown up saying, see my nose? It's crooked because Gordie Howe did that to me. Or these two teeth right here, Gordie Howe.
Right.
And I am sitting next to him, and I get the lesson at my idol who becomes my hero. And he kept in contact with me till probably 6 months before he died. But I will never forget that. And I have now been able to use that absolute thing like the Pacific Ocean that my sweet grandfather gave me to many who have literally said, hey, thanks for hanging out, Mr. Paulson. I heard you missed your plane. And I'm not saying this because I'm special. We all do it. How dare we not do it? A young man or a young woman who comes in and, oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. You're leaving. Well, that's all right. We'll figure it out. And somebody says, Rob, your plane. I'll get another one.
Yeah.
But that young man or young woman will never forget this exchange. And I learned that that's how you behave.
Yeah.
And so I've even said, are you kidding me? It's my pleasure. I've worked too hard for this privilege. And I just immediately wink at the sky. And I have one more that I got to share with your audience. It won't be as long.
Please.
But Steven Spielberg. I don't even have to go over why Steven Spielberg is who he is.
Right.
But here's who he really is. I am now in my 6th unique circumstance working with Mr. Spielberg. I don't think he'd walk up to me on the street and say, hey, Rob. He might, but it doesn't matter because my experiences are indicative of what I've heard other people, and it's no different. When we did the launch party for Animaniacs in 1993, it was a huge to-do at the actual foot of the water tower, the place where we all live in Burbank. It was actually at the foot of the water tower, huge party, hundreds of people. It's a very collaborative effort, writers, animators, storyboard artists, musicians. At the time, the studio was being run by a guy named Bob Daly. And so Mr. Daly came down to the party and, we saw him coming with Steven. We were all cast and hired by Steven. But of course, we didn't hang out with him every day, but it was a big deal. So here comes Stephen. And I'm sure when he walked up to each individual person to congratulate them, and he did, it was, okay, this is the guy who does Yakko and Pinky and Dr. Scratch. Oh, yeah, okay. Doesn't matter. When he got to me, Rob, oh my God, that Countries of the World song, oh my God, how did you, all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's what he did that made him worthy of being a hero. My son at the time was 8, and he was with me. And here's what Steven Spielberg did. He said to me, thanks so much, Rob. By the way, is this your boy? I said, it is. Nice to meet you, young man. You know, your father's real. Okay, all that. Here's what Steven Spielberg did. He said, Rob, do you mind if we get a picture? Do you mind if we get a picture?
Yeah.
He knows that everybody wants a picture with him. Right? So what he does immediately is takes the onus off me to have to say, God, I really want a picture.
Yeah.
Do I risk overstepping my bounds with the king of Hollywood?
Right.
Or do I just let it go and say, shit, I should have asked him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or do I see somebody else getting a picture and I haven't asked? And then do I go at all that stuff? So the best of the best says, I know what they want.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to feel uncomfortable because I'm a kid from Phoenix who had an 8mm camera.
Right.
Now I'm the king of Hollywood. I know what that young man wants. And I know that had I gotten to meet Billy Wilder or Alfred Hitchcock, I would have been doing this.
Yeah.
And so I know now the power of my celebrity. So I know that it's about making it about Pete. It's about making it about Rob. It's about making it about Rob's son. And that's the story. So how could I behave any different to the extent that I've cultivated a little celebrity with a small c? I get it. I don't draw them. I don't write them. I'm just the actor. I'm really good at my job, but Jesus Christ, I ought to be.
Yeah.
But when somebody meets me and now they start to tear up because they're meeting the voice of their childhood, I have these examples in my head and in my literal life who've shown me how to take that person's hand and look at him in the eye and say, you have no idea how deeply your kind remarks affect me. The fact that you're crying joyful tears because you're meeting Raphael, Pinky, and all that. I'm telling you, Pete, I've had so many of those examples. And I'm a nice guy. I want to be a better one. And that's why those exchanges are important, because it makes us a better humans, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's easy to default to intolerance and anger and all that kind of stuff. So easy, you know.
It's so is, and I sometimes take issue with the word tolerance.
Yeah,
we all try to be tolerant, but shit, man, I don't want people to tolerate me.
Yeah, right.
I want people to accept me, to like me.
Yeah.
Right now, not everybody's gonna. That's just life. But when I see people saying, "I wish you'd tolerate this group of people who happen to believe differently than you do," well, yeah, unless they come up and smack me in the face or they espouse violence or killing, of course I accept them. I'm only a second-generation American. I'm the product of immigrants from Macedonia and Denmark. I am a clear, like millions. I am what the ethos of this country is about.
Yeah. Shame
on me if I just tolerate you.
Yeah.
Tell me about you. Let me learn a little bit about you.
I like it.
Is that what you do on Christmas? That's really fascinating. I do this. You do that. Wow. You love your children just like I do. I don't want to tolerate you. I want to embrace you. You're an American. And so, yeah, I am absolutely, I think that's why we're getting along so well, because you get it.
Yeah.
You know? And how would you not? You fought on my behalf.
Yeah.
Nobody gets it more than people in our uniforms. It's a privilege to speak with you.
Well, ultimately, I made friends on your behalf, because my job was to understand the condition of the people out there and bring back the stories from what happened to them so we could do a better job at being their partner, so that if something bad was going to happen, they might tell me, So I didn't start by looking for where are the bombs, because no one's going to tell you that. But if you start by saying, hey, how are things? Tell me one small thing that we can do to help or whatever it is. And if I seek to understand them, I can then get somewhere. And I try to live this. I try to live the same way. And I'm a pretty good dude too. And I try to always continue to be a better dude and shut up more and all those things,
Well, that's what I say. As I've gotten older, and clearly I was aptly cast as Yakko. I haven't shut up for a freaking hour. But what I often say to my son now is, look, I'm smart enough now to know what I don't know. And it's a lot. But when I'm right, I shut my mouth. When I'm wrong, I apologize. And I have never learned much by talking. I learn more by listening. I'm in a position now where people want me to talk, where they want to hear what I have to say, because I have an interesting story now, especially as a result of not only the throat cancer, but because I've gotten to work on a number of shows that have become inarguably iconic.
Right.
And I'm learning that the joy of these characters really affects people on a profoundly deep level. And I never knew that because my celebrity is tangential. People recognize me more via my face because of things like this and a lot of interviews and magazines and all of that. But every time, without exception, that I'm recognized and people find out what I do, and I throw this out or hi or throw that out, it does what you do. You start to smile.
Yeah.
Some people shake. Some people laugh uncontrollably. Some people cry. I really, truly, till I got older, never knew how deeply those characters affect people. And so I believe I have a responsibility now to not disparage, it's only cartoons. Bullshit, man. This is a big deal. Not only has it paid for everything in your life, but there are people who often say, oh my God, my childhood was and thank you for that and blah. I'm so excited. You and your friends, and I go back to let me tell you something. There are maybe hundreds of thousands of people out there who say to me, not all of them, but I get it over and over again, but for Pinky and the Brain, Ninja Turtles, my childhood was an absolute mess. So my tears are gratitude. This is my family now. This is my wife. And you see, we're all wearing Ninja Turtle shirts. You know why? Because, Mr. Paulson, I was in the foster system from the time I was 6 months old. I will never meet my parents. And I went to 6 different homes between 6 months and 18. And it was really hard. But every time I went to a new home, there was a television. And then they start to choke up.
Yeah.
And Pinky, Raphael, Yakko, and the Tick, and Biker Mike, whatever it was, they were all there to greet me. And I'm telling you, they were my extended family. And now I'm okay. This is my wife. We just celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary, and we're here. We drove from 2 freaking states away.
Oh, come on.
Just to shake the hand of Raphael. And my kids love Ninja Turtles. I love Ninja Turtles. They understand that the reason I'm crying telling you this story is because I told my wife this story when I met her.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I do this. I don't even know what to say. Yeah. I was paid really well. This guy I wouldn't drive 2 states to see anybody. Right? But it's that important. So it's not just a funny cartoon show. Dude, this is a big deal to people.
Yeah.
A really big deal. And look at the position in which I find myself. My God, I now have the responsibility of carrying that torch.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of it. And then nice friends like you allow me back on to talk about it. It's a huge thing. If I can be a force for joy and get paid for it, oh my God, it just doesn't get any better, man.
Yeah. I learned from one of my guests, Matt Powder Mossler, and he just became a professional ski bum. And he says he chases wonder. And I'm like, yeah, gather joy all the time so that when you can remember the last time you were mad, but joy, gather that and keep track of it like you do when you get mad, and you'll have a lot more joy in your life, you know?
Hey, man, what a great way to say it. I literally said in an interview last week, somebody said, what's your best advice to young people? And I said, we all have our own little things, but not unlike your friend Matt. I don't ever want to lose my sense of wonder.
Yeah.
I never want to lose that thing to go, oh my God, look at this thing.
Yeah.
I paid $100 for this. Do you know? I mean, it's all rhetorical.
Right.
Do you know I can be in Istanbul, and if I punch it in, I can find a Starbucks in walking distance. Or I can be.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And how does it do that? Or the old standby. Oh my God, have you ever seen a flower like this?
Right.
I'm not a botanist, but I want to go, holy shit,
Yeah.
How did that? And then the natural conversation gets to be, was this an accident?
Right.
Or is this intelligent design? Or I never want to stop that. I don't want to have somebody have to poke me in the ribs and go, dude, do you not see how cool this is? I want to be the one to say, dude, check this out. How did this happen? And it can be as simple as being at the top of Mammoth Mountain in California by yourself.
Yeah.
Going, oh my God, I am up here by myself, and those are the Sierras. That's Nevada as far as I can see. And this moment right now is something I will never forget. I don't ever want to lose that, and so I totally get finding your joy at that old, Ram Dass, be here now, however you want to say it, live in the moment. It is not as easy as it sounds. We all look at past experiences, divorce, financial issues. God, I wish I hadn't, all of that. You know what? Even God can't change the past.
Right.
Period. Even God, whether you believe or not, even if you want to use God as a metaphor, cannot change the past.
Yeah.
Spilled milk, whatever, wasted energy, all of that is true. It's done. It's over. Okay. By the same token, if I start to go, oh my God, if I get this job, I should, what if I don't? What if I don't? Well, did you give it your best shot? Yes. If you had to audition for another hour, could you have been any better? No. Okay. So you know what you should do? Be here now.
Yeah.
Be here now. The last audition that you screwed up, over. The last wedding you had, the last marriage, she dumped you. It's done. You just met what you think is the now person of your dreams, the man or woman of your dreams. Be here now. What happens down the road is dictated by what you do now. Not worrying about, did you do it right down the road? I'm going along and I got throat cancer. We don't freaking know. So be here now. But it's not as easy as it sounds because of the pressures of life. And man, I am constantly exercising that muscle to be pacified, to allow the Pacific Ocean to pacify me, to live in the moment, to speak with my new friend Pete about things that are really important in the context of the human experience. And I really believe that's what we're all here to do, whether we are former spies or cartoon actors, we're all here to try to help us figure out how to move through this the right way and help our children and help other people's children. And, I really appreciate the opportunity to start to get a little ethereal, because that's what it's about.
Well, I love it, man. I love that you're comfortable to go to those places and to talk about them.
Damn day. Yeah.
Well, and then also from all of us out here in humanity, thanks for being our friend. Thanks for being our therapist. Thanks for being just our comic relief. I mean, that's ultimately what you do for so many people. You can't watch cartoons and go, I hate watching cartoons. Like, you watch them because they are a separation from your reality, even if it's just for 22 minutes,
Totally.
You get that break. So thanks for doing that.
Not at all. Trust me, it's our great pleasure. But the cool thing is now that with the new ways in which we all consume entertainment, the streaming platforms, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Disney Plus, you name it. Now, because we're not beholden to advertisers, don't get me wrong, I appreciate advertising.
Yeah.
I've been involved in a lot of it. But a 22-minute show on Hulu is now 30 minutes.
That's right.
Because they don't have to worry about whether or not they sell any cereal or action figures.
Yeah.
So a creator, Pete Michael can pitch a show to Hulu, and they'll say, yeah, great idea. How much is it going to cost? Well, I figured $25 million. Great. Okay, we got the money. Off we go, and hire your staff of writers. So we're going to give you 13 half hours. By the way, Pete, that's 13 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not 13 22 minutes.
That's true.
With 11 minutes of commercials. That's fantastic for both sides.
Yeah.
We're living in a time in which creators are unfettered often by whether or not it fits with the advertisers, and the consumers are able to watch 30 minutes of The Crown or Animaniacs or Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time to be alive. So be here now, dude. Great.
It's even a little better than that, because you don't have to even be on Hulu. You can go out and shake down your friends for $10,000, make a movie, have your own. So like when someone's like, well, we don't want to see you because you don't have a big enough audience. I can build my own audience. I don't need you for that.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
And you can go and do your own show with 10 large,
yeah.
Which this day and age, this camera
is
HD quality.
Yeah.
So you can get together with your friends in 10 large to pay artists, whatever, and put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
That's so crazy.
I mean, I know that to a lot of younger folks, they're going, wow, this guy Rob better rope it in. He's going to have a heart attack. Well, I'm an old dog, man. I'm an old Hollywood dog. So I've seen this change.
Yeah.
So when I hear many people say, and don't get me wrong, I'm not telling them that their concern is unfounded. I get it. But I want to give them a reminder, a primer on what it's like to be alive in this day and age and be a creator. Man, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You can take your camera and a couple of other your really deeply creative friends, spend a few bucks of your money that you got from high school graduation or because of your bat mitzvah, or your parents,
or you can just put a thing on this and ask people for it.
Right. You go to GoFundMe or Patreon or whatever. And then you get together and you put together something that's really a killer 15-minute sizzle reel, and you can blast it out on a free platform. Yeah. And within 6 months, you might have 100,000 people watching it. I mean, come on.
Love it.
And you don't even have to go to Hollywood.
Yeah.
If you want to go to Hollywood, you can go with a really great calling card that you made for pretty much nothing. And you can bang on the doors just like I did. And finally one will open and the kid will say, let me see what you got. Well, here's the link, and click. And while you're watching it, they're going, oh, Jesus, wait. Holy shit, where did you get that one? Oh, my God. Hang on a second. Hi. Yeah. Judy, hold my meetings. I think I got something. Yeah, hang on a second. And that stuff happens.
It does.
I mean, it really does. So what a great time to be a creator. It's fantastic.
Here's my last funny idea that I was going to throw at you. And I know we're kind of long, but I think you'll appreciate it. I am dying for someone to do a short on getting on to the old part of the 110. And I think cartoons is the safest way to do it.
Downtown?
Yeah, like when you have to stop sign and everybody's going 80 and you're like, go go.
Well, that's especially in Old Pasadena.
Yes.
When you're heading in. Yeah. When you get on like 110 North.
Yeah.
The San Pedro Freeway or the 110 if you're heading north, the Pasadena Freeway. And you're right. There's a merge lane where you go like under bridges, and there's like this one lane designed for old cars from the 20s and 30s, because that's how old that freeway interchange is.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're trying to merge on the 110 North to go to Pasadena, and you're merging with 2021 automobiles.
Yes. It's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, your Prius might be able to go, 100 miles an hour. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you're merging on with a bunch of people going 70 miles an hour.
Yeah. From a stop sign.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable. Fortunately for me, I'm a sports car gearhead.
Yeah.
And I've got a car that can handle that. But man, if you're driving in the car that got you out here and it happens to be, a 2005 Chevrolet Cavalier or whatever, and when you stand on it, it goes 0 to 60 in 9 seconds. You're gonna have to figure that out, man. You picked a good one.
Yeah.
My response: become rich and famous. Come out here, buy a 911, stand on it, and you'll be good.
Yeah. Well, listen, I had you for an hour. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to do this again soon.
My pleasure, buddy. It is so my pleasure. You're the only one of my new friends who have been kind enough to call me back in a month. But I am yours anytime, my friend. And I really do consider this a privilege. And one day I hope to shake your hand and thank you for your service on my behalf in person.